What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be tucking into the first 7 episodes of Stranger Things Season 4, which are now all available on Netflix. Now Stranger Things Season 4 I think improves on one of the biggest problems I've had with the show up until this point, and that is story progression. The first 3 seasons all followed a very similar structure of introducing us to a new monster each season and having our team overcome them, without really delving a lot deeper into the mythology of the Upside Down and the ongoing story.
What are you waiting for?
But Season 4 really upped the game and kind of gave us the best and most engrossing storyline we've had yet. And it really is starting to feel like the show is setting up its endgame going forward, which I think was phenomenal. At the expense of that, and maybe something that was done better in the earlier seasons, was a very kind of noticeable lack of character development for a lot of the ensemble.
Where'd he go?
And I think that's partly due to the kind of size of the cast now and the lack of casualties in the main cast. We've got so many main characters now and they were all scattered across different storylines this season. So very few of those characters really felt fleshed out or kind of developed. I think the main casualties of that were kind of like Will, Mike and Jonathan off on their kind of side quest, which I think was by far the least interesting storyline we were given this season. Other characters who'd had great character development but didn't really get any time to shine here were people like Joyce. I found Robin just quite annoying this season. I felt like she kind of undercut the sincerity of certain moments just with her awkward humour. It didn't really feel like it was very well placed. And I was especially worried about Hopper being like isolated both from the rest of the cast and completely launched into a new setting. I thought the kind of Russian prison storyline was going to stick out like a sore thumb, but it really didn't. I was really compelled by what they gave us with Hopper. I thought it really allowed David Harbour to tuck into Hopper's much more vulnerable side and kind of reflect on the choices that had led him to this point. I think the standout this season by a mile was Max. Sadie Sink delivered a hell of a performance this series, and I think it's testament to her that Dear Billy is probably the best episode of this season. And I'm willing to say that those final 10 minutes of that episode were probably the best Stranger Things has ever been. Just the combination of music, performance, stakes, and kind of emotional investment all came together in such a way that I don't think the show has managed to do up until this point. And I especially loved how Max's moment there really kind of contrasted Billy's death at the end of season 3. Max kind of rejecting the monster, running away from it, back to the life that she's clinging to after being shown what she has to live for. Whereas Billy decided to stand down the monster, look it dead in the eyes and kind of defy it, while dying for what he lived for, which was ultimately this need to be free and independent. I just thought there were some really nice subtle parallels between those two scenes. And I absolutely loved Vecna. Easily the best villain Stranger Things has had to date. I thought the mystery unravelling of who Vecna was and how he came to be like he is was really well handled. I think it did come at the expense of Eleven's storyline this season. Looking back, you know, from the first 10 minutes of the first episode, it felt like Eleven was basically being used as a vessel to get to that storyline reveal, rather than being given a compelling character arc of her own. Obviously it was about her overcoming her kind of PTSD and remembering what happened, but ultimately that was just being used to drag out the suspense and tease who Vecna really was. But the prosthetic work was phenomenal. The horror and supernatural presence in this season in general was just leagues above what they've done before. It was a much darker season and they really lent into that.
You're so dark!
I thought they did really well keeping a lot of tonal consistency this season. I thought Eddie was a fantastic new addition to the cast. I think he was a bit wasted in the latter half of the season, and I think that goes for the season as a whole. I thought the first 2 episodes did a really, really good job of framing the characters, you know, establishing where all these different people were at and up to with their lives, and promising a very kind of character-centric season that ultimately like dissipated as we went throughout and the story started to take over. But that isn't massively to the show's detriment, because the storyline this season was just so engaging and the mystery was so well worth investing in. The cinematography is still at the top of its game. The colours, the kind of vivid imagery used in like the Upside Down is just so kind of cinematic. The production design is phenomenal. The use and application of songs in certain scenes. One thing I would say is that I assume we're going to get a big character death in those final 2 episodes of this season in July, because I think the show does need to thin the herd, because I think this season is starting to expose how there's not enough kind of time to give each character a satisfying arc. a lot of the characters just feel like they're on for the ride without really any compelling reason to be there. But it's still fun to hang around with them, and they've all got such great personalities. And I think season 3 for me is still probably the most cohesive and all-round satisfying. But season 4 really upped the stakes. It introduced us to what I hope will be the show's big bad going forward, and went darker and scarier than it ever has before. So you just have to praise the show for constantly kind of upping its game and trying to reinvent itself as it kind of doubles down on the story it's trying to tell. And I cannot wait to see what's next. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please comment below if you have any disagreements, anything you'd like to add. Please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. That's always a huge help. But thank you for your time, and thanks for watching, guys. See you soon.